What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Our first question comes from Alex Brennan, who asks if Luke and Han could appear in a flashback in Episode 9.
Could they?
Could they?
Sure.
I mean, only if there were some, unused footage of Harrison Ford, because I'm pretty sure he's done filming Star Wars things.
I'm on the fence on whether or not he would come back because, people talk about how Han died in The Force Awakens, and I feel like that was mostly down to Harrison Ford. I think part of his contract was like, I'll come back, but you got to kill me. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't know that he would come back, but the fact that Carrie Fisher isn't around anymore, maybe they could pull him back in.
Yeah.
But maybe some of that footage that they have of Carrie Fisher is involving Harrison Ford in some way. I would also argue, until The Last Jedi, I probably would have said, no way, because we've never really done flashbacks in Star Wars, but The Last Jedi kind of eased into it with those, different interpretations of what happened between Ben and Luke. So now I'm I could see it.
Yeah, maybe.
And I'd be cool with it. I mean, I'd be very cool with it to have a scene of the big three together from the original trilogy.
Yeah.
It would be cool. So, could it happen? Yeah. I don't know. How likely do you think it is? I mean, I think it's probably on the lower end, 30% chance.
Yeah, I don't think it's that likely. I think most of what we see of Luke in 9 is going to be Force Ghost.
I agree.
Cameron French wants to know if Jedi Fallen Order could be a retelling of Galen Marek's story, similar to getting a new interpretation of Thrawn in Star Wars Rebels.
To say the same thing could be. I mean, yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think this person that we're going to be playing in this game is going to be pretty young.
Yeah, there'll be a Padawan. I mean, I think that if it's a new interpretation, based on what we know about this character, they might as well make it a completely new character.
Oh, yeah. I don't think the character's going to have anything, significant about them other than they're a Padawan trying to get away.
Yeah.
They're not going to have a backstory.
The thing about...
Or if they do, it'll be, small.
The thing about The Force Unleashed is that it was a game meant to, throw every possible thing you could do with the Force into your hands. It was supposed to be just this super overpowered, fun video game, and it is. I don't think that's what they're going for with Respawn.
Yeah. I
think that it's going to be... I mean, my dream scenario is that you're not great with the Force. I want you to be kind of the opposite of Galen Marek, where it's I'm really struggling to survive after Order 66. Mm-hmm. And it's I see one stormtrooper or clone trooper or whatever there is. I could take one. 2, it's okay, it's getting harder. 3, it's borderline suicide. That's how I feel when I play The Last of Us.
Yeah.
That's how I want to feel when I'm playing Fallen Order.
And hopefully, there's maybe a progression of your abilities.
I mean, that's a very video game thing.
Yeah, as you play the game, you get a little bit better, but no one's going to be pulling ships out of the sky or doing anything crazy.
Yeah, so it's could Sam Witwer play the character, and could it be named Galen Marek? It's sure, but why do that? Because I don't think they're going to share anything else in common.
No.
But I did want to point out that they considered Starkiller coming into Star Wars Rebels as one of the Inquisitors. So they haven't completely shelved the idea of Galen Marek. I think it's possible one day we could see a new interpretation of him, but like Thrawn, they would probably shift the timeline around and they would definitely tone his powers down.
Yeah. Harrison Edgar asks if the Colossus is indeed a space station.
It is.
How will it escape into hyperspace without being tracked like the Resistance fleet?
Well, I guess first we could say, we don't know that it won't be tracked.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they have put some sort of... The First Order could have installed a tracker. There could be a ship there to track it as it leaves. But I think that what's more likely is that I think you need a Star Destroyer at the very least, to track something going through hyperspace.
Yeah.
Based on what we know about hyperspace tracking and all that. I don't think there's going to be a Star Destroyer present at the Colossus. It sounds like they're off doing other things, like capturing other systems or chasing the Resistance fleet. And as far as they're concerned right now, Castellan is theirs.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't think they're that high on the priority list as far as, we need to keep track of them, because they're trying to keep track of the Resistance right now. So yeah, I don't think they would be tracking them. And like you said, there's not a big space station there to track them.
Yeah. So I'm just going to guess that they'll be fine. As for the future, I don't know, maybe that could come back up. That could be something fun to do in season 2, like a true Battlestar Galactica episode where it's like, we can't get away.
Yeah. Or maybe there's something special about the Colossus that it can't be tracked.
I think that it probably can be based. It was like they went into way too much detail on the visual dictionary about how it all works, and it's basically just like calculating probabilities. It's not true, like, we definitely know they jumped here. It's like, they 99% jumped here, and it's like usually right.
Or maybe the pirates know how to scramble the tracking somehow.
The pirates could be fun to play with that.
Mm-hmm. Robert Miller wants to know, if we were Force sensitive, what everyday task would we most want to use the Force to do?
Fold laundry.
I was going to say Force bathroom seat down.
What? I feel like I'm pretty good about that. That's a good one to use, though, because you don't want to touch the toilet seat.
Just like...
Yeah, that's a handy one to do anywhere, in any public restroom, because they're always disgusting.
Yeah.
I feel like I do a pretty good job, I think. I just hate folding laundry.
That's true. I mean, I usually am the one to fold laundry, so...
So I do use Force. I use my mind, and it somehow gets done. It's magical.
You're like, I'm working! Can't help. Jan Kapturkowitz and Peter Houston Hecken both asked what we thought of Mark Hamill's recent comments on the sequel trilogy.
So this was like a week ago. Mark said some things about how it's like, it's a shame that the big three from the original trilogy, there wasn't a scene with Han and Luke and Leia all together. And he said something about how originally when he walked by 3PO as a Force projection, like, he didn't even acknowledge 3PO, and Mark was like, I can't do that, and so they shot the wink and everything. And then, of course, like, everything that happens, both extreme sides of the argument come in, and, like, the angry people are like, look, see, Mark hates the sequel trilogy, and then other people are just, like, mad at Mark for saying anything that could even remotely be disparaging towards the sequel trilogy, and it's like, I don't think either of those are true.
Yeah, I mean, he has opinions just like everybody else.
Yeah, he has his own expectations of what he would have wanted out of the sequel trilogy. Like, he can also be a fan.
Yeah, and I'm like, it is true and unfortunate that we didn't get a scene with all three of them, but no one was, expecting Carrie Fisher to pass away. So maybe they were thinking, okay, episode 9... we'll have that scene, or...
Well, a lot of people were, like, upset that Han died in The Force Awakens without reuniting with Luke. And, and I think Mark has been just kind of bummed that he didn't get to do a lot of scenes with his old friends and kind of, I don't want to say relive the glory days, but, like, I know every sequel trilogy, or every Star Wars trilogy, it involves new characters, and they always pass the torch down. And I think it was a little easier to stomach when it came to the original trilogy and the prequels, because we were like, obviously Luke and Leia are not going to be in this because they weren't born yet. Mm-hmm. And so we had Obi-Wan and Anakin and Padme, and there was no hubbub about that. When we go from original to sequel, it's a little different, where we're kind of like, yeah, it makes sense that they would be a big part of the story, but they're just not. Yeah. And it's about passing the torch on to this new generation, because if you look at the original trilogy, like, let's go chronologically, Obi-Wan is not in it very much. Yoda is not in it very much. Anakin, obviously, is a major part.
Yeah.
But I think people just kind of wanted one thing when the story is about something else. And it's like, yeah, they could have done a story about all of the big three characters, but they didn't.
Yeah. I just, like, anything that Mark Hamill says about the movies, it's like, yeah, I mean, he has this character that he played that is super important to everyone and to himself, and he probably had all these hopes for how, you know, the movies would turn out, and some of the stuff he didn't get and some of the stuff he did get, and that's how it is for all actors. And it's really dumb for people to be like, see, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty vocally disappointed that he was only in the last page of the script for The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And I get that. Like, it used to be kind of like your movie series, and it's just not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Hamill has expressed his opinions on the movies and his role in the movies before, and he will continue to do so. And it doesn't seem like something that people should argue about or use as fuel
for either side of the argument, really.
Yeah, he's just an actor talking about his character.
Yeah, I agree. But as for the part about 3PO and all that, like, I saw people talking about that part, and to me that just says like, oh, filmmaking is a collaborative effort, where I don't think Rian Johnson was actively trying to have Luke ignore 3PO. He's just trying to run an entire movie, and then Mark says, oh, I should probably wave at 3PO or something, and Rian was probably like, thank God you're here to point that out. I'm sure he was happy to put that in the movie, because people were like upset in The Force Awakens when Leia hugged Rey and not Chewie after Han's death. And I mean, that makes sense for the characters. Like, they should have hugged and comforted each other. Mm-hmm. But no one said anything on that set.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. Like, if we're thinking that this actually happened, like, who she hugs first. I mean,
probably
absolutely a lot of hugging going on.
Yeah, I'm sure off screen they hugged.
Yeah.
That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon, where we left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained content, like audio commentaries for the films, and we're going through the Clone Wars and doing audio commentaries for all those episodes too. And this week we released Blue Shadow Virus, so that is available right now if you're interested.
On to YouTube questions. Jay Mikowski asks what character I think Alex would be in Star Wars based on his interests. And he asks Alex what character he thinks I would be based on my personality.
I think we should do one each. I'll do your personality and interests, and you can do that for me.
Okay.
I think based on your personality, I'd give you kind of a Han Solo type character.
Ooh.
I think you tend to just kind of dive into things, and you're like, we'll just figure it out on the way, and you make it work out. So I think that...
And it usually does work out.
Yeah, usually. Every time.
Every time.
As Han would say.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess interests? Is that what you did for me first?
I did personality.
Oh, personality. I'll do interests first for you. Biggs?
That seems like a cop-out answer.
I mean, you love the pilots. I would say Biggs or Luke. Anyone with an X-Wing.
I think I might even say, like, I could just be a mechanic because I love the ships or something. But...
You could be Biggs's astromech.
Oh, I kind of like that.
So that you could fanboy out.
I'm just here to help you.
Yeah.
For your interests, I think I'd go with one of Padmes' handmaidens. Because there was a specific moment in Queen's Shadow where they were talking about doing contouring to make the body double look more convincing. And I was like, I know what that is. Thanks to Molly.
There is a handmaiden that is in charge of the hair and makeup, and she's she does a great job. And yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. Personality, I'm going to go with C-3PO. Because he's kind of robotic and knows a lot.
I'm not that whiny.
And...
Or prissy. I don't like this game anymore.
You're a only child, though, so...
That's true. I'm a little finicky.
Yeah. Darth Revan wants to know if there has ever been any details about Mother Talzin's power and its limits, since she can go toe-to-toe with Dooku.
Something I like about Talzin and all the Nightsisters is that... So, they still use the Force, but they use it differently than the Sith or the Jedi do, and that's what I think throws them off. I think that the Sith and the Jedi are like two sides of the same coin, and then the Nightsisters, with their spells and incantations and zombies and like green smoke, like that's a completely different coin.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is this? I don't know how to fight it like I know how to fight a Sith or something.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because, yeah, Dooku was trained as a Jedi, so he knows the Jedi training. Doesn't know anything about Nightsister magic.
Yeah. I just see that as kind of both Jedi and Sith being stuck in their own worldviews, and they don't branch out. And they probably even think of the Nightsisters as lesser. And then they come in and, yeah, Mother Talzin almost wrecks them. And that's how I kind of headcanon it.
Yeah. Sandy Boy asks why all of Padme's handmaidens changed their name to end like hers. I think it was just like a tradition.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, if you're going to be a handmaiden, you take your name and you just make it a little bit different.
It's basically, it's a short and simple answer, and it's explained in Queen's Shadow, but it's basically, yeah, to honor Padme or whoever the queen is.
Yeah.
You just add a little... You just make your name a little similar to the queen's.
Was Sabe's name originally like Sabin?
Yeah. So they all have like their birth names, and then they have handmaiden names that are sort of similar to Padme's.
Yeah.
So it's just a way to honor the queen.
Theorist 10 wants to know what happened to Kalani and his battle droids from Star Wars Rebels.
So yeah, last we saw them was in the last battle episode of Rebels, where they kind of stumble on a bunch of clone or droids that had been waiting for orders, and they think that the Clone Wars are still happening, and Ezra basically gets them all to stand down, and they leave in peace, and that's the last we saw them. And sorry, I just hit you. I don't know. I don't know where they went.
They went to go start their own lives somewhere.
I was expecting them to come back at the end. Like, so many characters came back in Star Wars Rebels to like help at the end.
That's true.
I was kind of thinking Kalani would be one of them, but I don't know. They went off to... Maybe they joined the droid Gotra.
Yeah.
That seems reasonable.
Maybe they got picked up by Lando and he reprogrammed them with the rest of his droid army that I'm expecting in episode 9.
So you're going to speculate that Kalani's coming back in episode 9.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be cool.
Resistance Chris asks if I am going to kick Alex's butt in the Schmodown. Probably.
Yeah? You got to make it to me first.
That's true. I have to go up against 4 other people first on Friday, and then whoever wins that match goes up against Alex on Saturday.
I'm sure you will have no qualms about destroying me, or trying to. I'll at least feel a little bad about beating you.
If I get to that point, and if I win, I am going to make the biggest deal. I'm never going to stop talking about it.
You should. You should be on stage, like, throwing tables over and throwing chairs into the crowd, like,
I will. I'm gonna be like, I'm taking over the channel. Guys, you can sit this one out. It's me. It's all me now.
That's fine. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below, or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.